Okay, so let's get Spider-Man rolling. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and it's your girl Phoebe, and guess what? I have managed to get my hands on this Spider-Man uniform that is the Marvel Avengers Infinity War uniform for Spider-Man that has been made by Tony Stark. So this makes me really excited to, first of all, buy this uniform. It's pretty cool to look at, though it does remind me of Dr. Octopus because of the tentacles that it has, but it is pretty cool. Now, the very first thing that I noticed when I went ahead and bought this uniform is that the animations have changed drastically, and along with that, almost all of the scales have been swapped out and they look pretty much different. So that is something that, makes Spider-Man very much different. So first of all, I had a very defensively built Spider-Man, but I got ahead and, I went ahead and worked out on him and gave him an offensive build so that we can test him out instead of, going for a defensive build and testing, because that doesn't make sense. You won't get to know the true power and, the attack values of a character unless you don't test him off on an offensive build. So here you can see I have an attack speed of 130% and a crit damage of 191%, which is approximately close to 200%, that's almost also full. Then I have ignore defense at 50% and reduce cooldown at 50%. That is, I have 3 stats that are maxed out and another one that is approximately nearly maxed out. So that is what I have on, the build of my Spidey. I have the ISO 8 equipped as Power of Angry Hulk because I wanted to max out my ignore defense. This is a very important stat, especially on Spider-Man. And then I have my custom gear over here, which is crit damage. Of course, we want to max out whatever we can. And then we have ignore defense that is getting helped out. And along with that, I have a 110% damage proc. And the only reason I went ahead and gave him a lower damage proc, despite the fact that I have a 160% one sitting in my inventory, is because you test a character when the stats are low and not when the stats are high. So today we'll be testing out the new uniform with the earlier uniform. So first of all, we are going to be discussing some changes that have occurred in the uniform. So first of all, we are going to be talking about the tier 2 skill. So the tier 2 passive of both the uniforms remains the same. That is 2-second increase to the duration of web and increase guaranteed dodge rate by 25%. So that is completely same. Then we're coming over to skill number 1, and this gives me a web of 2 seconds, which is different than the uniform that was there earlier, and this one has a 72% physical attack. But let me go ahead and show you the Hobo Spidey uniform, that is the Homecoming uniform. And the surprising part is that in Web Blast, that is the first skill, we are having a webbing of 3 seconds. And we have a physical damage of 44%. So the physical damage on this skill has reduced, but the webbing duration is 1 second more than the new uniform that we're having here. But this has been compensated in a pretty good way in the next skill, which is the Iron Spider skill. This is that it has also a web of 1 second. Now the webbing, the amount of time the web was there on the web shot, that is, it's 2 seconds here, whereas in the Homecoming uniform it was 3 seconds. It got reduced this time, but it got added to the second one, that is the second skill. So we have a webbing of 1 second, which is not present in the Hobo Spidey uniform that I'm going to show you right here. It just has a physical damage attack of 183%. That is not present in that is not the same as the one that we have with the new uniform. So that is pretty much something that I like, that there are now 3 skills that are having webbing instead of just 2 skills. So that is pretty good. But the only thing is, if you have noticed, that the physical damage has decreased. That is, it is 80%, whereas in the earlier one it was 183%. That is pretty much surprising that the attack value has gone down. But I will come to that in a few seconds about why I will still tell you to buy Spider-Man's uniform. Next, we're going to move over to skill number 3, and this has a physical damage of 89%, whereas in the earlier uniform, that is the Homecoming uniform, the Hobo Spidey uniform, this is pretty much surprising that it's 123% physical attack value. So yes, that is something that is different from the new uniform. I'm going to roll back over. Then the passive pretty much remains the same: immunity, snare, and stun. Then we have skill number 4. Here we again have a webbing of 2 seconds, but here is the good part. Now this skill number 4, this is a very high animating and a very high damage skill. So it over here has 248% of physical attack, and in the homecoming uniform, if you'll notice, I'll just take you there. In skill number 4, you have a webbing of 2 seconds, which is the same, but you're having a physical damage of 81%. Now, the thing is that this is the skill where the cards are coming from the top and hitting the enemies. So this is where you are getting reduced amount of damage when you want more amount of damage. So skill number 4 in the homecoming uniform was supposed to be just for CC. But this skill over here is not only for CC but also causing high damage, and this is the skill you should definitely be proccing on. This is the most highest damaging skill that you will find in the game. The next one is, I mean for Spider-Man. Next one we're moving over to is skill number 5. Over here we have a new thing that has been added, that is we are getting a stun of 4 seconds and decrease all speeds by -15% and a 198% physical attack, which has degraded from the homecoming uniform, because over here you will find it just has a physical damage of 346%. So the attack value of the homecoming uniform is more than that of the Infinity Wars uniform. But what new thing has been added is that there is a 4-second stun along with decrease all speeds by -15%. So I would like to come to the conclusion that you know, through the various amounts of testing that I have done with this guy, okay, he just disappeared. Yes, so with the various amounts of testing that I have done with this guy, I have actually come to the conclusion that this uniform is much more agile. It is more faster. Spider-Man is actually much more faster than the homecoming uniform, and the homecoming uniform lacks damage in the skill where it should have, that is in skill number 4. So when I went ahead and tested in World Boss for Thanos, and when I was testing him out there, I will just put the clips in the end. I'm just speaking right now so that I can explain everything that I want to say. When I went ahead and played, you know, with the homecoming uniform, and then I just went ahead and played with the Infinity Wars uniform, there is a very drastic difference that you see. And the drastic difference is that Spider-Man is much more faster, much more agile. He can, you know, his attacks are much more faster than the earlier uniform. That is pretty much surprising. That is because the homecoming uniform is actually pretty much perfect. You would say it has a perfect amount of CC, it has a perfect amount of attacks, but not really until you try this uniform out, because this uniform has more webbing. That is 3 skills have webbing, whereas the homecoming uniform has 2 webbing. You will see that the amount of damage that the homecoming uniform is dealing should be more in theory, but the Infinity Wars uniform is actually dealing much more damage when you go ahead and test it out. So I will be sharing a screenshot with you right now. As you can see, this is the score we tried out with ABX with the you know, average build Spider-Man that I have. Well, I won't call it exactly average, because even though the rank of my Spider-Man is high, but I have pretty much maxed out almost all the important stats on him except for the crit rate. So this is a pretty much stable build, you can say, for an attacking Spider-Man. And with the homecoming uniform, I was able to merely score 100 to 110k, whereas with the Infinity Wars uniform, I have maximum scored 167, 170k. But while I was recording, the value is obviously lower because my phone lags during during recording. So at that moment, I cannot show you the complete score that we have arrived onto, so I will be putting up the clip of ABX at the end. So this is a very good uniform. Now we're gonna start discussing the skills over here of Spider-Man. So I'll start with the very first skill. This is a very high damage attack. That is a high area attack because it is targeting more amount of enemies than before. So more webbing, see, as I said, it has more webbing in the very first skill, so I definitely love this skill a lot. The web duration has decreased, but the amount of webs that are coming have definitely increased, so this is going to be a very good pointer for AC. Definitely a must-have for Alliance Conquest. The next one we have is skill numero 2. This is insane. If you just look at the amount of, you know, the webs that have covered over here, it's just like if I just take him into a more high enemy dense area, then he's gonna be attacking more number of enemies and just you know, putting them into the web. So this was missing from the homecoming uniform, but this has now been incorporated here. This is a very fast, very agile skill. Totally love it. So the first skill over here is an iframe along with webs. Then the second skill here is a very fast animation along with the webbing of 1 second, and this is not an iframe, mind you, but you will not actually get any hits because most of the times your enemies will be in the webbing, except for when you're playing world boss where that won't happen. But despite the fact, you actually don't really get hits. Now the reason I'm saying that is because I also went ahead and played Shadowland, and in Shadowland I did the physical immunity level. So I actually wanted to say that despite the fact that there was physical immunity, the amount of damage dealt by this character is insane, so it's pretty good. Next we're moving over to, oh, just give me a second. Here we are out of webbing. Now we're gonna go ahead and move with skill number 3. This is a very good iframe. It got plenty of attacks, so this is a good attack. Next we're gonna move over to skill number 4. This is also a very high damage dealing attack. This is one of the particular skills about Spider-Man that I absolutely like. This is one of the skills I definitely make sure to proc on. This gets the most high amount of damage, as you would see here. It webs your enemy for a duration of 2 seconds, and along with that is the most highest damage dealing attack. And along with that, it has been carefully you know, programmed, because this is 248% of physical attack, so this is where you should definitely proc on. Next we're moving over to skill number 5. This is also an iframe, as you guys can judge from here, and this is the most perfect skill ever because this has a stun. So what if it doesn't have a web? It still has a stun, so you pretty much got good CC. So now the difference between the homecoming uniform and the Infinity Wars uniform is that now you do not have CC in only 2 skills, you actually have CC in 4 skills. That is, you have web in 3 and stun in 1. So I just believe that this is a really good uniform. And the best part about this is that you can easily play with Spider-Man now. You don't have to worry about him getting killed because he's so fast. He is so, you know, he's faster, he's more, having more amount of CC, so you are definitely not likely to get killed. The only problem I really think is, why the heck is he always just looking down? I just wish he would stand up. But anyways, here we have the rotation that I definitely like to use. That is, I start with skill number 5. This deals a stun to the enemies for 4 seconds and also decreases their speed by -15%, so you're pretty much safe over here in this skill. Totally love it. Next I move over to skill number 4, which is the skill I usually try to proc on. I have 110% damage proc at the moment, but you know, you can go ahead and increase it, or even if you decide to defensively build your Spider-Man, it's perfectly good. This skill is the one that should make people scared in AC, except for the fact if you're using Wasp and you have a web immunity. But this still deals a lot of damage, so this is one of the skills I totally love to proc on. The next one that I go to is skill number 2, which is again a web and covers a large area of enemies. And then I'll move over to skill number 3 because this is an iframe. And the best skill that I actually really love is skill number 2 because this helps to escape from the enemies. Now, while I was playing World Boss, the clip I'll be showing you in a while, in that I do not let Thanos escape from, you know, going up and shooting down those meteors from the top, because I keep using this skill. This is a very good skill to get away from your enemy, because once it is, you know, you feel that the enemy is going to attack, you can just go ahead and use skill number 2 to save yourself. So this is a life-saving skill. So what I like to go ahead with is I go with 5, I'll go in with 4, deal massive damage, I'll go in with 1, web them again, then use 3 and take it to 2. In the meanwhile, you're just webbing each one and everyone out, so you're just in iframes all the meanwhile. So that's the best part about this uniform. I extremely love this uniform, and this is one of the reasons I would tell you to buy this uniform. Now, I would like to tell you that I have gone ahead and played Shadowland, and that was the floor where we have physical immunity. And despite the fact that there is physical immunity, this guy manages to deal a lot of damage and definitely complete the floor. So I'll just cue in the clip now, and well, watch till the end, and I'll meet you guys in the next video. And I love you guys so much. Okay, bye-bye.
You wrote to me, you wrote to me, this is suddenly. Hiding in the bungalow, she felt so young. The night she was much younger than the other. Feeling like a prisoner there in the light. She stood, she knew they couldn't miss her. And then they took a wrestler, walked over like fled. You wrote to me, you wrote to me, this is suddenly. Kept beating her, they felt sad for her, but an order is an order. She was a prisoner there in the light. She stood, but she knew they couldn't break her. And by the shore the bombs were falling with the snow. You wrote to me, you wrote to me, this is Italy. She